Hello guys, welcome back to another video. So today we are going to see French defense. So today what I am going to do in French defense is tell all the possible alternatives from the white side so you can pick an opening from it. So let's start. So first, as we know, French e4 starts with e4, opponent plays e6, we play d4. So here are some options. Let's check queen d2 first. So queen e2 is an option. We are stopping d5. So d5 is a common move in this line. So we are stopping this d5 idea. So he's going to go c5. There is which is similar to what we call a Sicilian. Now knight f3, knight c6, g3. This is a bit of closed Sicilian. Knight f6, bishop g2, d5, d3. So this line is not so popular, and if you can play this line if you want to confuse your opponent. It is very helpful in bullet or blitz games. So next idea is b3. So b3 is also a surprise move. d5, bishop b2. So the idea of b3 is we're sacrificing this e4 pawn for development initiative. So you can capture d into e4, knight c3. If he goes something like knight c6, we're going to play g4, stopping f5. So he's obviously going to go f5, f3, ef3, knight f3. So what you can see in this position is we have better development for his badly developed pieces. So that's why we play this b3 line. This is an interesting pawn sacrifice. You can use it as in blitz and bullet. I will remind you that all surprise lines are more effective in blitz and bullet. For slow games, opponent has more time and can find the loopholes in these side lines. That's why it is always recommended to play main lines in the slow game. So one more d3, as I can say, the second most popular other than d4. So d3, he's going to play d5 and d2. It's similar like Tarrasch, but our pawn is on d3. So he's going to play knight f3, g3, c5, knight g3. Again a similar position like closed. Bishop g2, bishop e7, castle. You can see the much similarities between the closed Sicilian in this position. So e5, knight d7, gaining the space, rook e1, b5, knight f1. So knight f1, we are basically having a good position. His position is little bit underdeveloped, I may say. a5, h4. So what is the plan in this position is he will go on the queen side and we will take our chances on the king side. So it is like who is first in the race will win the game. So it's that simple. Bishop f4. Now the plan you need to do is push your pawns on the king side and get a successive attack. Now we'll move on to the main line, d4. So d4 is the most popular move. d5 and e5. e5 is known as the advanced Sicilian and it is the most popular move in this position. So let's check that. For e5, he'll play c5, which is a standard reply. c3, defending the d4 pawn. See, always it is important to maintain this pawn structure in the center, because if any of this pawn structure is disrupted, our pawn on e5 may be weak. So it is important to maintain the c3, d4, e5 pawn structure in the center. So c3, knight c6 and knight f3, again defending the d4 pawn. Queen b6. So I want to point out an interesting variation for black. Queen b6. So queen b6, knight f3. If he plays knight c6, it is going to transpose into the main line. So what he is going to do is play bishop d7. For bishop d7, we're going to play bishop e2, cd4, bishop b5. So the main idea of playing the bishop d7 is exchanging the bishop on f1. It is important as black's white bishop is often terrible in French defense, and he will exchange it with the our white bishop, because our white bishop is best. So knight c3, bishop e2, knight e2. And e7, knight g3. See, we're transposing our pieces to king side, because as you can see, there is one rule that states in chess that which pawn, the where our pawn chain looks, we need to play on that side. As you can see, d4 e5 can obviously, we can tell the pawn structure is on king side, looking on king side, so we need to play this position on king side. So knight g6 is played, knight h5. So we're going to go into another idea. So c3 knight c6 is the main line, and f3 queen b6 a3. So a3 is played to stop the idea bishop b4. It is very important. So there is another idea. If you want bishop d3, he can't obviously take cd4, because cd4 nd4 nd4 queen d4 bishop b5, and this queen is dead. So it is important to play bishop d7, idea stopping bishop b5. dc5 is played because now the cd4 pawn is on hang. Bishop into c5, castling f6, b4 is played. Now we are making the c5 bishop move into a more passive square. Bishop e7, bishop f4, obviously supporting the e5 pawn. Knight e5, knight e5, bishop e5. The pros of this position are our pieces are more active and this pawn structure is little bit weak where we have to play. So a nice line, I would recommend it. So let's take on to the main line, a3. a3 c4, obviously making our f1 bishop bad, and b2 developing it and covering the b3 square. In a5, obviously coming for the b3 square. g3, our bishop has to develop on g2 because bishop on e2 is much worse. Bishop d7, bishop g2, long castling. So in this position, it's like he's going to come for the king side and we need to go for the queen side. So this is an roughly good position for black. A good position for white. So it's the end. So we're going to look at another possible lines. We're going to start with whenever. Whenever is nc3. So for nc3, he has three main lines. Bishop b4 is the main move, de4 is the lesser known move, and f6 is the second played move. So let's start with bishop b4. So bishop b4, e5, c5, a3. See, if a3, now if we, means it's important that bishop will be a very pain in our position if we don't remove it from b4. Bishop into c3, knight e7, queen g4. Remember, when you're playing this line, queen g4 is an important move, because now we are forcing, if we castles, we're going to go with bishop h6 idea, and we obviously have a good attacking chances on queen g4. If queen g4 is not played in this situation, it is obviously black who will have the upper hand in the whole game. So this is the line. So knight fc3, let's go with knight f6, knight f6, e5. Okay, bishop g5 is a nice line which can be considered. Again bishop b4 will come, e5, h6, bishop h4, g5, and this position is similar to the queen g4 line but lesser bad. So this line is not recommended to play as white, so I don't recommend this line. Instead, I recommend you to go with the move e5, and d7, f4, c5, knight f3. So this is similar to the position in the advanced variation, but now the pawn is on f4 and the knight is on f3 and our pawn cannot come to c3. So that those are the main changes we need to notice. Bishop e3, queen b6, a3 is played to stop. If we play something like queen b2, we can simply play knight a4, hence trapping the queen. A3 is played to control the b4 square. So cd4 is played, knight d4. So this position is good for white, better for white. So he has good position and a good opening position. So nl6 is okay. So let's move on to DE4. DE4, knight e4. I would tell this position may come with ND2, DE4, knight e4. So it's transposes into the same line. So NC3, DE4, knight e4, knight D7, knight F3. Usually the players who play from black side are hoping for a draw in this line. So they are, you can consider going for a draw if they play this line. Knight gf6, bishop g5, bishop e7, knight f6, bishop d3. So this position we will play c3 with next move, do castling. We play c5, dc5, bishop c5, queen e2 and get the rooks. So obviously we will going to have the upper hand in this game, and if he makes his mistakes, if black makes any mistakes, it would be very tough for him to even equalize. So that's a point to note it. So let's go on to my favorite line, Tarrasch. So in d2. So in d2 the main line here is c5, but there are other moves like knight f6, knight c6, d4. Let's continue with knight f6. So knight f6, nd7. Here I recommend two moves. You can play any of these two moves, but if you're an aggressive player, I recommend f4. So for f4 he is going to play c5. For c5, c3, knight c6, knight df3, cd4, cd4, bishop b4, king e2, queen b6. No, after king f2 you need to play g4. He's going to go somewhere like castling, king g2. If he goes f6, h4, you may think, oh, this king is very bad in this position, but nothing to worry. The king is very safe, I may say, from the black king, because there are many ways white can attack the black king, but black cannot attack the white king. So this is a very aggressive line. If you're looking for tactics, I recommend f4. But if you want some peaceful line, bishop d3 is also good. It is more played than f4. c5, c3, and c6, and e2, cd4, cd4, f6, knight f4. As you can see, white is going for the e6 pawn. He's captured knight into d4, queen h5, king e7, knight g6, g6, ef6, knight f6, queen into h8. So as you can see, this position, you can see if what happens if black plays any mistakes in this line. So yeah, this is a good line, bishop d3. Let's move on to nc3. nd2, nc6. So nc6 is the most players play it, but it is not so well known. So ngf3, nf6, e5, nd7, c3, f6, ef6, queen f6. So the problem with nc6 is it undermines the main idea of French. See, the main idea of French is playing c5 and attacking the e5 pawn. By playing nc6, he made himself to not play c5. So that's why it's not so well known. So moving on to our next line, which is also the last line, c5. For c5, ed5, queen d5, and d4, cd4, sacrificing a pawn, which will come back later. Queen d8, knight b3, knight c6. So you can continue here by capturing this pawn. He's going to play knight f6. You can do castling, bishop e7, you can play c3, castling. So you can continue this position like this, and it's a very good position for white. So this is all the variations from white side. Hope you like the video. If you like, make sure to subscribe and like the video. If you have any other openings you want me to cover, please don't be shy to tell it in the comments. And thanks for watching.